Peace, love, and greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, and welcome to the first entry into the Art of series, a series analyzing various aspects of film, comics, and mostly gaming through the principles of design, elements of art, storytelling, and so much more, using some of my favorite pieces of entertainment growing up, and hopefully some of yours. Today, we'll be covering the art of color theory and its outstanding execution by Japanese video game developer and publisher Capcom through one of its most popular IPs to date, the critically acclaimed fighting game, Street Fighter. But before we dive into the various ways Capcom implemented color theory within Street Fighter, we first need to understand, what is color theory? To make sure I don't have you literally fall asleep while watching this video, I'll be giving a very simplified and short explanation of color theory, as this is quite a broad topic that can get pretty advanced and confusing real fast for those with limited knowledge on it. And remind everyone watching that this is more of a crash course for beginners and is pertaining more to its functionality through Street Fighter as opposed to a master's degree lecture on what it is. With that clarification out the way, let's begin.
Round 1. Fight!
There are hundreds, if not thousands, of definitions of what color theory actually is, and I'll be sure to link a few articles that I feel give a well-balanced understanding of what it is down below in the description. A simpler and straight-to-the-point explanation of what it is, however, can be found through Chris Decker's essay, The Fundamentals of Understanding Color Theory, through 99designs.com, where she defines color theory as both the science and art of using color. It explains how humans perceive color and the visual effects of how colors mix, match, or contrast with each other. Color theory also involves the messages colors communicate and the methods used to replicate color. So, for all the blancas in the room who still need more clarification, color theory is basically an understanding of how colors work and function with one another and the different ways you can make and use them together to effectively communicate ideas and messages. One of the best ways of understanding color theory is through the color wheel, first created by Sir Isaac Newton in the 17th century. Firstly, we have primary colors: yellow, blue, and red. These colors cannot be created by mixing other colors, but instead, through combining these colors, we can get secondary colors and tertiary colors. So basically, all other colors present in the wheel stem from these three. Secondary colors are created by mixing equal amounts of two primary colors and consist of orange, a mixture of red and yellow, purple, a mix of blue and red, and green, a mix of blue and yellow. And different ratios of these result in different hues of the color. Tertiary colors, also known as intermediate colors, are created by mixing equal amounts of a single primary color and a single secondary color and consist of lemon, vermilion, a mix of red and orange, magenta, a mix of red and purple, violet, a mix of blue and purple, teal, a mix of blue and green, chartreuse, a mix of yellow and green, and amber, a mix of yellow and orange. With these in mind, let's finally talk about schemes, which will act as an important aspect of color use in Street Fighter. A color scheme is the arrangement or combination of colors, and there are 7 notable color schemes. Monochromatic, a scheme made up of a single color and its various shades, tints, and saturations, used especially for corporate designs to give a sleek and elegant look. Complementary, we all know the saying that opposites attract, and it couldn't be truer through complementary colors. Colors that lie opposite each other on the color wheel create vibrant schemes as well as duality in design. Analogous, a scheme made up of 3 colors that lie adjacent to each other on the color wheel. One color will stand out while the other 2 act as accents that support the overall scheme. Triad, Much like the analogous scheme, triad color schemes are also made up of 3 colors. However, the colors always lie evenly spaced around the color wheel. It also functions the same as an analogous, where one color dominates and the rest act as accents. Split complementary. Also working with 3 colors, a single color is chosen, then the 2 colors that lie on the sides of its complementary form the scheme. It can create a strong duality that complementary colors create, but with more subtlety. Tetradic. This scheme consists of 4 colors made up of 2 complementary colors, creating a rectangle within the color wheel. Often the most difficult to work with due to the sheer number of colors, it's often best to use muted colors here to build an understanding before working your way up to the more saturated variations. Square. Much like tetradic, it's made up of 4 colors made up of 2 complementary colors, with the only difference being that they are evenly spaced on the color wheel, creating a square shape. Though not necessarily regarded as schemes, warm colors and cool colors still function the same. So when you split the color wheel in half, you get warm colors. Colors that induce the feeling of joy, warmth, energy, anger, excitement, etc., and are often associated with the sun and heat. Cool colors. Colors that induce the feeling of calmness, relaxation, comfort, coldness, focus, etc., and are associated with the cold.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now that we've gathered a brief understanding of color theory, what is it about Street Fighter and its use of color that just works? Street Fighter, commonly abbreviated as SF, is a Japanese competitive fighting video game franchise developed and published by Capcom. The first game in the series was released in 1987, followed by 6 other mainline series games, if you include Alpha as a mainline title, various spin-offs and crossovers, and numerous appearances in other media.
Right here, I'm Zangief, I'm bad guy. Hi Zangief. Hi Zangief. I relate to you, Ralph.
The game is largely considered the godfather of fighting games, and over the years has garnered much popularity to the point that characters like Ryu have become an unofficial mascot for Capcom, only further emphasizing the popularity of the game. Though many factors make up the overall success and appeal of Street Fighter, ranging from its very traditional, to lavish, to outright crazy, to somewhat questionable character designs, to stage designs, gameplay mechanics, music and story, to so much more, we're gonna rather focus on a subject that many adore about the game, yet some miss but pick up on through subconscious means: the color of Street Fighter. Where most fighting games choose to embrace the idea of change throughout installments, Street Fighter tends to keep characters more or less the same throughout various entries. Even though characters may change drastically in look, specifically in clothing and shape, they almost always tend to keep one thing: their color schemes. And this isn't by accident or a form of laziness, but rather a unique way of approaching storytelling. Storytelling through color. Street Fighter is by no means Shakespeare, but it does have a rather interesting story, with its storytelling flourishing best in its comic and film adaptations. Its storytelling through the games, however, can be...
I need your help. I will help you.
yeah. This is why a large portion of the story was told either through arcade endings as well as special character intros in the past, and as I'll be explaining further in the video, through color.
Round 2. Fight!
A lot can be told about a character through their color schemes, and a good example can be seen through the game's 2 main protagonists, Ryu and Ken. 2 martial artists who trained under Goken learned a forbidden form of combat known as Ansatsuken, translated as Assassin's Fist, a fictional martial art used for assassinations, but practiced differently under the tutelage of Goken. Both Ryu and Ken fight similarly, but through their own personalities, personal backgrounds, and stories, they're able to express who they are through subtle differences in combat. Most martial artists wear the same gi in order to represent what school of martial arts they come from, but having both Ryu and Ken wear standard white gi would detract from who they are as well as the differences between the two fighters. This is where color plays a big role, especially for two characters who not only dress the same but also fight similarly. Ryu being the more focused and calmer fighter between the two means his color palette will consist more of cooler and muted colors. He sports a white gi and white headband with bright red gloves. White is described as the absence of color and is reflective of spirituality, calmness, focus, innocence, and purity, all traits that Ryu carries as the traditional martial artist archetype. Red represents heart and courage, life, anger, war, love, and health. Traits that Ryu encompasses from these would be heart and courage, and by understanding that Ryu is locked within an internal conflict with his dark side, it can also be represented as the war between himself and the dark Hado within him. Post-alpha, he trades his white headband for Ken's red one, which can be seen as the brotherly love they share for one another, as well as Ken inspiring courage into his friend to battle the darkness present within him. He also occasionally swaps between red and brown gloves, but the meaning stays the same, with the added aspect of brown reflecting strength, reliability, isolation, something Ryu knows all too well. Ryu's color scheme falls under monochromatic. White and black are often viewed as the final tint and shade of a single color, so his white gi would be the highest tint of his red headband and red gloves. Ken is portrayed as the energetic, fiery rival of Ryu, and what better way to convey that energy than with bright, warm colors. Ken dons a bright red gi against his blonde hair and yellow gloves. Red, as mentioned previously, represents heart, courage, and love, all aspects that Ken reflects through his very energetic personality. Yellow represents warmth, happiness, hope, and positivity, which is reflected through his constant support and friendship towards Ryu. His bright, warm color scheme puts further emphasis on his passionate and fierce character, as well as his explosive playstyle. Using faster attacks and having an elemental affinity to fire, his color scheme further pushes the narrative of the fierce and cocky martial artist, contrasting against the mute, silent, yet calm fighter Ryu represents. Ken's color scheme would fall under analogous. His scheme consists of warm colors all adjacent to each other on the color wheel, as well as counting his black belt as the darker shade of any third color of the red and yellow. A final example can be seen through the world's strongest woman, Chun-Li. For her, however, we will look at a color scheme through a cultural lens, specifically Chinese philosophy. Within Chinese philosophy, color is rooted in Wu-Xing, the 5 elements, which links 5 core elements to specific colors and natural forces, consisting of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Wood being green and sometimes blue, fire being red, earth being yellow, metal being white, and water being black and blue. Blue is linked to the element of water and occasionally the wood, representing healing, calm, and longevity. It is closely linked to the oceans and open skies while bearing attachments to dependability and peace. It is also tied to new beginnings, especially in the spring season. Blue, unlike Western and Eurocentric symbolism, doesn't carry the emotional weight of sadness in China, and in softer shades is linked to feminine traits. Chun-Li's main color is blue, with accents consisting of white, brown, and yellow. Blue being her most dominant colors due to her flowing movements akin to water. Water often being symbolized in many of her movements, representing Wu-Xing principles of water in not only her character but her playstyle. Being a practitioner of various martial arts, mainly Tai Chi, which connects the body and mind through slow, flowing movements along with deep breathing and focus, tying closely to water as an element. White is symbolic of purity, brightness, innocence, and mourning. In her case, it carries purity as seen in her fighting style and leading a life of crime fighting, and now in the latest entry through teaching. She also carries the trait of mourning, as one of the main motives in her inception was seeking revenge for the killing of her father by M. Bison. Yellow is prestige, authority, wealth, luck, and status. Her job as an Interpol agent reflects the trait of authority from this color. Brown, being a natural color, also plays back to the wood element within Wu Xing and highlights the characteristic of growth within her journey. Her color scheme leans closer to square but could also be seen as split complementary with differing tints and shades depending on her outfit. Together, the color scheme and corresponding traits build up their character from story to gameplay. You can apply the same practice of color schemes and their symbolic meanings to the rest of the cast and even other characters from other media to build a greater understanding behind this idea.
Round 3. Fight!
Street Fighter's color use stems beyond its in-game use and acts as a powerful tool for marketing and branding. A better way to understand this is through color swatches. Why? Because of the era in which Street Fighter first established itself, the arcades. Imagine a gamer walks into an arcade. They're immediately greeted by neon lights, loud conversation between adults, teens, and kids alike, and flashing screens across multiple arcade cabinets. As a single game, you're competing for the attention of a player with multiple other games that have bright and colorful means to attract the customer. You need to stand out. And the best way to do this is through recognizable color schemes that can be seen from a distance or the corner of your eye. If I laid out the following color swatches in front of you, who do you immediately think of? If you said Ryu and Ken, then you're correct. How about these two? Chun-Li and Gao, right? This is the power of color schemes when done right. When walking past multiple arcade cabinets, you'll easily identify which is Street Fighter based on recognizable color schemes that work well, right down to simple color swatches. The color also builds alignment. How do you know who's the good guy? How do you know who's the bad guy? Color helps shape a character's morality. Ken and Bison both have red as a dominant color scheme, but their particular shades in combination with other colors are what determine whether they're good or bad. Ken has brighter, more saturated reds with warm yellow accents, while Bison has a darker blood red coat with black and white accents, giving off a more sinister tone. Movesets are also color coded. We all know Hadokens and many projectiles by good aligned characters are blue or green, while Akuma and other villains are usually purples and darker shaded colors due to their villainous alignment. Ken's is green in the EX series, but I believe that's to complement his outfit's color scheme. Stages also build their identity through color, though often slightly muted or desaturated to allow characters to still be visible to the player against the backdrop of the stage. Some recognizable stages are like Sagat stage in Thailand, mainly made up of warmer colors, or the Field of Fate with its highly saturated green grass against a darkened stormy sky.
Round 4. Fight!
Though I love Street Fighter's current visual style, I can't help but feel saddened at what was lost in the transition from stylized to realism. The two games I felt truly realized the palette of the series with Third Strike and, most notably, Alpha. The opening of Alpha alone captures this entire video's sentiment towards color and identity. Every character pops out against the background. Every character carries weight and appeal. Alpha veered away from the stylized realism of the previous games and went full anime with this entry. The more manga-focused direction can be credited to the main illustrator for this entry, Erayan, who is also known for his work in the EX series and Project Justice. Many of the characters feel closer to comic book characters here, and that wasn't an accident. This was also around the same time that Capcom would collaborate with Marvel for multiple crossover titles, and having Street Fighter characters drawn in a style closer to comics would allow for seamless integration for both properties. This led to Street Fighter characters and other Capcom characters having a more saturated and stylized look reminiscent of popular comics of the time. Certain characters even benefited from redesigns like Chun-Li in a full blue tracksuit, as well as Cammy ditching a green tights in exchange for a blue jersey top and yellow tie, meant to be inspired by the female assassin from the manga Wounded Man. This new look really captures the power of color and stylized visuals over realism to help characters pop out more. Similar to how superhero comics are structured such that their heroes pop out of every panel on every page. Both Chun-Li and Cammy's redesigned looks in this game are considered iconic to many as a result of this. The issue with Street Fighter 6's realism is that most games with realism tend to lean towards physics rather than color and shape language to define the visual appeal. The way muscles contract and expand, jiggle physics, the secondary animations become the shining beacon of these art styles. This, however, doesn't detract from it being an amazing game visually. In fact, the latest entry has many callbacks to its more stylized roots through mechanics like the drive impact, as well as the overall game's graffiti aesthetics singing the praises of Third Strike. Both styles have their advantages and disadvantages, but for the next Street Fighter game, I believe blending the two visual approaches should be their direction. Merging the vibrant color palette and anime manga appeal of Alpha with the muscle physics and animation quality of the RE engine used in Street Fighter 6 could create one of the most distinctive Capcom games. If not for Street Fighter itself, then perhaps for its lesser known IPs such as Project Justice or the Breath of Fire series.
Final round. Fight!
Colors aren't just eye candy. They're what brand your characters, world, games, and your IPs. This even leads to certain characters being known more for their palette than their story or title. Take Mega Man for example, a character who's also popularly known as the Blue Bomber, regardless of what iteration of Mega Man it is. Dante and Virgil from the Devil May Cry series have created a unique visual battle of color against one another, being red versus blue, a tale as old as time. Mario and Luigi both sport red and green undershirts with matching caps against blue denim overalls, literally referencing RGB. Samus from the Metroid series, specifically the most popular being Super Metroid, dons a neon orange battlesuit with a neon green glass visor against the desolate, muted planet she visits. She's always visible within the frame, always eye-catching. The entire Sonic cast is a great visual study of this, considering almost everyone reaches breakneck speeds where shape language no longer matters, and all that's left is a trail of color as they speed and blitz down various zones. Crash Bandicoot is recognized for his bright color scheme and is notably called the Orange Tornado as he spins his way across multiple levels. This can even be seen in inanimate objects such as cars in all the Need for Speed games. My favorite is Underground 2, which draws on the colorful neon light aesthetics of that era made popular by the older Fast and the Furious films, where color, vinyls, and neon lights defined the style. Or my personal childhood favorite, SSX, where the game's environment is primarily pure white snow. The characters and interactable elements of the stages are brightly colored to pop out against the powdered canvas of a mountain the players toss to shred. Color directly influences the soul. Color is the keyboard. The eyes are the hammers. The soul is the piano with many strings. The artist is the hand that plays, touching one key or another purposefully to cause vibrations in the soul. Wesley Kandinsky, concerning the spiritual in art. If you take a look at my portfolio, there's always one thing I pour my heart into: color. Growing up in the arcade era and PS1, PS2 console generations, where many games carried strong visual appeal, mainly in color, breaks my heart to see how dull, how cold gaming has become. I don't hate realism. Many games truly capture color well, even through realism, but I wish it wasn't a standard across the board in AAA development. There's a playfulness, a passion that comes with color that many often overlook, but I trust indie and AA developers to actively keep this sentiment alive through their works. Lord knows the AAA have muted their palettes in favor of a live service color scheme. I hope this video makes you appreciate color a bit more in everything that you consume and stirs in you a more intentional approach to how you lay down color in your worlds. And before we end this off, I want to leave you with a passage. I hear the question upon your lips. What is it to be a color? Color is the touch of the eye, music to the deaf, a word out of the darkness. Because I've listened to souls whispering, like the susurrus of the wind, from book to book and object to object for tens or thousands of years. Allow me to say that my touch resembles the touch of angels. Part of me, the serious half, calls out to your vision while the mirthful half sours through the air with your glances. I'm so fortunate to be red. I'm fiery, I'm strong. I know men take notice of me that I cannot be resisted. I do not conceal myself. For me, delicacy manifests itself neither in weakness nor in subtlety, but through determination and will. So I draw attention to myself. I'm not afraid of other colors, shadows, crowds, or even of loneliness. How wonderful it is to cover a surface that awaits me with my own victorious being. Wherever I'm spread, I see eyes shine, passions increase, eyebrows rise, and heartbeats quicken. Behold how wonderful it is to live. Behold how wonderful to see. I am everywhere. Life begins with and returns to me. Have faith in what I tell you. Orhan Pamuk. In his work, My Name is Red. And until next time, may peace be upon all of you. Thanks for watching.